Hey everybody, I'm doing something a little crazy today. I'm taking all of the little snippets of recording that I've had in my phone for the last year or so and putting them together in this video, and I think it came together pretty well. My name's Donna and I'm with Caroline's daughter. Caroline is my mom, by the way. I'm the daughter. Project 1. I was at an antique mall here in Phoenix and I saw these cute little cards. Actually, this is the only one I saw, but she had others that were like this. And I grabbed it. I don't even remember how much I paid. It wasn't a bargain or anything. It was someone else's craft. So I got this frame. It used to be black with some rust color on the embossing. And I got it at Goodwill, and I think I got 2 of them. And so what I've done here is I've put DIY paint on it, and goodness, I cannot remember what color this is. Maybe it's not Farm Fresh. It's not Gypsy. Maybe you guys will know. I'll probably look it up later and put it in the description. But it's green and it's pretty. Then I took this dark wax, and it was way too dark for my taste. You saw me trying to get it off there. What I did in the end, I believe, is I took some clear wax and I ran it over it with the towel and was able to get a lot of it up off of there. Then I took some DIY's Crystal Clear Chandelier decoupage liquid, and I put the frog design on there. Got it on my fingers, so then I thought, well, if you're going to press down on it, use that plastic because you're going to get glue all over the piece of paper and it's going to show. So I pressed that down, and then I put another coat of liquid patina on there on the top to seal it in. I decided to use some DIY golden rule to go on top of the embossed part. I thought the gold shining through, or making it look like it was shining through, would be really elegant and might make it look even older. This is a wall hanging, probably for a kitchen, that I got at Goodwill. It used to have a rooster on the front of it. And I was able to soak off a lot of it, but it was really stuck on there. So I did a lot of sanding to get the surface pretty smooth. And then I dumped about 1/3 of a bottle of acrylic on it. The goal was to paint it gold underneath and then to put another color on top in order to have the gold come through. So I chose black. I took Waverly ink and I covered the gold, and then I was going to wipe back the black. But as you'll see, I had a really hard time getting the Waverly ink to come off and show the gold underneath. I started by wiping off the black paint with a wet wipe. Or trying to, anyway. Then I moved to sanding it off. Or trying to, anyway. So I painstakingly chose a transfer from IOD. I think this might have actually been my very first transfer ever. And it turned out to be a lot harder than I expected. It didn't want to stick for some reason on this paint. Now that I have a little bit more experience with transfers, not a lot, but a little bit more, I would probably have left that the paint to cure for at least 24 hours before I would have gone back and tried the transfer. As you can see, it eventually came up. Ooh, I just love the dark fairy vibe. So then I took some clear wax and put it everywhere on there, and then I buffed it out. The black paint ended up going on pretty thickly, and it's kind of cracked in places, and it almost reminds me of kind of a Spanish Gothic leather piece. Does that make sense? So we'll just keep this between us. We'll just pretend that the gold came through when I sanded it and wiped it back with a wet wipe. But really, this is the magic of Golden Rule by DIY. This is a plaque type of board that I got at Goodwill. I hope I got it for half off because I wouldn't spend $4.49 on it now these days. And this is a mesh stencil by Amy Howard's A Maker's Studio. And the plan was to paint the board black with the Waverly ink. And then I'm going to use DIY's White Swan to put on the mesh stencil. And I was a little bit nervous about it because I've done a few mesh stencils that it got too juicy, it bled through, it didn't work. The fine bits where the mesh was didn't read as well. I couldn't get the detail. Wish me luck. That's really kind of satisfying, isn't it? Watching the white get smeared all over. Okay, drum roll. Oh yeah, that is definitely just what I wanted. The top line, as you can see, I only got part of it and it's too big. It would have not shown on the top of that plaque. So I took some ink paint and went around and erased all of that outer line, which is perfect because it has that thicker line as a frame already. I found a lantern at Goodwill and I thought I'd remake it for Halloween. I used my Cricut to make a couple of Halloween scenes. I applied those to the glass panels on each of the four sides of the lantern, And then I used my crystal chandelier liquid patina to apply some orange napkin to the panels, and sanded off the edges of the orange napkin once everything had dried. And look how it turned out. I think it's so cute. Okay, so taking a small break from Halloween items, I got this art frame at Goodwill, but I think they come from Michael's. I painted it with the dark and decrepit liquid patina, and then I cut out this picture that came in a booklet of ephemera that I got on Amazon. I used colored pencils to darken the berries and to darken her makeup a little bit, put some red on her outfit, 'cause it was a little more black and white than it is now. And then it only reached down to about a half an inch below the bottom of the frame. So I painted that in, and then I decided to fill it with some Christmas berries that are sparkly and cute. And here's the finished product. And then here she is hanging on my tree, next to my TARDIS and our Dalek. I don't have much in the way of pictures or film of this project. It was using resin that I poured into an IOD mold. I think it was specimens. I'm not sure. And the background is another piece of ephemera that I got out of a booklet from Amazon. I bought a couple of those like a year and a half ago, and I actually haven't used them as much as I wanted to because I kind of got into using rice paper and printing out my own stuff. And so the ephemera can tend to come, though these particular can come on shiny pages, and the shiny doesn't really work a lot of the time for what you're doing unless you put another coat on top of it, wax or something matte, a matte sealer. But so I just glued the beetle onto that background and put it in a thrifted frame. And then I spent some time putting more golden rule on the edges of the frame to kind of make it look like a moody shabby chic. Do you know what I mean? My kids and I went to a theater sale. This theater in our town was going out of business, they thought. And so they sold everything, costumes, props, all this stuff. And that was only $1. And I thought it was so pretty. And I immediately saw it as dark. So I painted it with Debbie's DIY little black dress. I blew the paint dry with a heat gun. And then I had made a clay skull out of a little Amazon mold that I had. So I took that and glued it to the front. And then I used gold acrylic paint to sort of dry brush all the highlights of the candlestick and the skull. You know, I might like gold highlights based on what I'm seeing on this video. Maybe that should be the theme of the video. Gilded Goth. Here's a big one. This was apparently a Target dollar spot item, but I got it at Goodwill for probably half that price. I wanted to turn it into a witch's house because I had a bunch of miniature items that I'd gotten 50% off, maybe even 60% off at Michael's. So this is a piece of kind of Gothic two-sided scrapbook paper that I got at Michael's, and I'm using Mod Podge to put it in the attic of the house. This is another one of those, well, I guess the first one that you're seeing of the Michael's miniature figurines. And it's a whole bookshelf filled with witch items. Then I had a skull from, I believe this is from a Temu purchase that I had made long before. I haven't purchased Temu in probably a year and a half. And then that is, I believe, a Tim Holtz glass bottle, and I filled it with purple glitter. And then I have, what is that? Oh, a book. I glued a book in there. This is a frame that I made with resin put in an IOD frames mold. I'm painting it orange and then gold, so I don't have to use too many coats of gold. It's kind of bent, so I'm using my heat gun to melt it a bit and then straighten it back out. Lay it flat and let it cool that way. I used a tiny crate that came in one of those wooden miniature doll houses that you can get on Amazon. We never put that one together, so I used the crate from that. And then I'm applying Dark and Decrepit to sort of age the gold, make it a little bit less shiny on the picture frame. I believe this little broom came from that miniature dollhouse kit as well, so I'm using Dark and Decrepit to darken that up. And here are my witches, the focal point of the house. They were from Michael's, and I believe you can still get them there, but I thought they were somewhat sloppily painted, so I'm just kind of filling in some spots with Waverly ink paint. And then once I get them cleaned up a little bit, I'm going to put green glitter in their pot to make it look like they're making a sparkly magical potion. This is a small sized down piece of art that I think I got on Etsy as part of an entire art package that you could download. I love this picture because it's 3 women working in a field. Oh, and I'm gluing a scepter down there to the bottom part. And then the witches go in. But the 3 women working in the field, when I put it up in the attic, I realized to me, it felt like it was their past. Maybe they worked hard before and now they're witches and they are not beholden to anyone. Or maybe those are their ancestors. But I just love the idea of it up in the attic. This is metal ribbon that I got from Dollar Store or Dollar Tree, and I'm painting it with the Waverly ink, and I'm going to wrap it around the top of the house as a sort of Victorian touch to the house. It reminds me kind of Practical Magic, at the end when they jump off the roof. And that's a little kitty cat in a moon figure that I got from Michael's. I got a bunch of these little Christmas ornaments at the Target dollar spot. They were $1. And I decided to turn them goth as well. Take a wild guess where I got this little figurine and that little figurine. I think we should make a drinking game. Every time I say Michael's, take a drink. These are some others of the same type of ornament that I made prior to this and did not film. And here are the finished results. My candle's a little crooked. Aren't those pretty? There's my witch's house. And that's it. My phone is so much less scary now. Only 8,000 to 9,000 items left. No problem.